So that's sort of Catelyn, her sister, her brother, and all of the Tully characters that we get from the chapter. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Let's Read a Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. My name is Riakeem Kelley, and today I'm going to be talking about the Catelyn Stark chapter, the second Catelyn Stark chapter, which is chapter 6 of the book. Now this video is a lot different from the videos that I've done so far. One of the things that I want to do with getting my channel to grow, because it is a new channel, this is only less than 10 videos on the channel now, I want to start working on some of my video production quality. I want to start actually including videos, working with some green screen work. You see my green screen, which is right over there. You can see my camera. This is sort of an inside look at my set, if you will. This is the office that I have, which is in my house. So I record videos after I get home from work throughout the week. I do have a normal 9-to-5 job, so I don't have too much time to spend recording the videos, but I'm hoping to grow the channel. So this is one of the ways I would like to start doing these videos, and maybe sort of having a face behind the videos. So without further ado, I want to get into this chapter. I do want to show you my setup. I'm going to move my camera for a little bit. You can see I have my script here, or sort of what I'm going to be talking about, and that's sort of me looking at myself. Inception. Yeah, so let's get this back into where, oh, you can also see the desk here. I use a stapler for a paperweight. Yes, that's the copy. That's my copy of the book. Alright, so we are back there. Now in this video I'm going to be cutting in some pictures and hopefully keep the video going so my voice will still be talking. Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of give everyone a sort of inside look, especially in some of my early videos. So without further ado, we're going to talk about it. And I won't actually be able to see myself. This video will probably be a lot of me looking away from the camera as I'm looking at my script now. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the actual chapter. This is chapter 6, I believe it is, and this is the second time that we've seen Catelyn Stark as a viewpoint character. Just a quick reminder, there are spoilers in this video, so if you haven't read it or you don't want to be spoiled, leave the video, go read it and then come back, please. Sorry if I'm looking over here because, my script is over there, so I'm going to try to keep my eye contact right at you. Again, this is a special edition behind the scenes episode. Just some notes. I do read the story off screen, copyright and all that. I don't know how that works with reading a chapter on the camera and trying to get paid for it, but probably can't do it. So I'm going to be reading off screen and then talking and discussing about the chapter on screen. I'll give you my commentary and my analysis on the camera. So in this chapter, we have looking at the who, the what, the when, the where, and the why, and a few of the plot points. We have Catelyn Stark is the viewpoint character. The what is Ned and Catelyn are having a conversation and they need to make a decision about some certain things in their life. The when, it is the night after all of the previous events have occurred. So, we saw in the earlier chapters, Robert asks Ned to serve as Hand of the King. We see Jon from his viewpoint at the party, or the feast for the king, if you will. So this is the night, Catelyn and Ned, they do it, off camera, off screen or off page. They are, they do it. The chapter makes a very big point that they, just done it. And they are having a conversation about whether or not Ned should go south to King's Landing and serve as the Hand of the King, Robert Baratheon. Where it's in Ned's bed chambers in Winterfell, and the why shows that Ned is loyal to the king, but he's also loyal to his family. It shows that Ned doesn't make decisions without Catelyn. We can see, well, sometimes he might, but at least in such bigger bigger decisions, we see them working together to come to the decision of what is best for their family. And that's very important for this to be the matriarch and patriarch of the Stark family at this time. We see that Catelyn, as a viewpoint character, helps Ned come to the most logical conclusion or solution to what he should do. She serves as the voice of reason, and sort of helps check his points, if you will. So some of the plot points, we have the two of them do it, as I said, as the book said. Then they talk about the sort of events and what they should do. Maester Luwin comes to the set and brings some more insight, and then they make some decisions at the end of the chapter. Also, I almost forgot, they also get, the plot develops, right? We see that Catelyn's sister Lisa has sent, or Liza sends a secret message, which we'll talk about later on. So looking at some of the characters, of course we have Catelyn Stark, Catelyn Tully, she used to be a Tully, but now is a Stark, as a viewpoint character. She serves as the voice of reason, even through the doubt of her and Ned. So I'm going to read some quotes. Catelyn, remember the dire wolf. Catelyn remembered the dire wolf dead in the snow, the broken antler lodged deep in her throat, page 59. So she sort of sees these symbols, and at this time where, the sigil of House Baratheon is a stag, and the sigil of House Stark is a dire wolf. So that visual imagery of seeing a real life stag have, murder a real life dire wolf sort of impacts Catelyn, and she's really thinking about that on a sort of spiritual level. Like, could this symbolize something for the future of the house, or at least for the future of Ned? But she does think that he must go south, even though he thinks that it is too dangerous to do so, especially with this, winter is coming, right? So someone needs to be in the north to sort of help the people as winter's coming. It's a harsh time. I believe they had 9 years of summer, so they're going to have 9 years of winter. But I don't know if they're going to have 9 years of fall. More information about why the Starks don't, or seeing evidence that the Starks do not like the Lannisters. You say you love Robert like a brother. Would you leave your brother surrounded by Lannisters? That's what Catelyn asks Ned. So moving on, we're going to talk about some of the Tullys. We have Lisa, or Liza, if you will. She knew it meant death if her letter fell into the wrong hands. We do see later in the chapter that Liza has sent a secret message to her sister, letting her know that Jon Arryn was murdered. And that message was sort of hidden in something that Maester Luwin presents to the characters later on in the chapter. But that's sort of what we get from Lisa. So a little bit of evidence that she's not crazy. We also learned that Catelyn also had a brother named Edmure. All right. So the next character that we're going to talk about is Eddard Stark. Now, we have already seen Eddard as a character. He's been a viewpoint character before, so we already know a little bit about him. We know who he is as a character. But we learn more about how he hates the heat. And he even gives us more information about all of the Starks. The Starks were made for the cold, he says on page 58. We learn that he is an urgent lovemaker for you ladies out there, but he's a fictional character, so you stop your nasty thoughts. No, but her loins still ached from the urgency of his lovemaking, page 59. And off the bat, this tells you this is going to be that kind of book. No, but he is an urgent lovemaker, and that is a part of his character. Again, we learn that he does not want to be Hand of the King. He really doesn't want to do it. He has duties in the north, what with the whole winter is coming situation. He thinks Robert will understand if he tells Robert no, but Catelyn makes a very good point that he's been the king for 7-9 years, something like that, and he probably won't understand. He probably will take it as offense, because he's expecting Ned to show this loyalty by just doing as he's asked, really. So Catelyn, again, is the voice of reason for Ned. But we see a little bit more insight into why Ned thinks that his brother, who is dead now, should have, what he is doing now, right? He should have Catelyn. He should have the North, really. Ned really thinks he should just probably have Bantam. He doesn't think that he was owed this responsibility. It was all meant for Brandon. You, Winterfell, everything. He was born to be a king's hand and a father to queens. I never asked for this cup to pass to me. And then Catelyn responds with, Brandon is dead and the cup has passed, and you must drink from it, like it or not. So we see that Ned really doesn't want this responsibility, but we also know that he is willing to take it on because he has no other choice. But the shadow of his dead brother still lay between them, as did the other, the shadow of the woman he would not name, the woman who had borne him his bastard son. Now, it is important to note that a lot of the mystery in A Game of Thrones comes from who are Jon's parents. Now, if you watch the show, this has been revealed, but it still hasn't been revealed in the books. And every now and then we get a little bit of a hint. But one thing to know is that this is a Catelyn Stark viewpoint chapter. So everything that we know comes from her. We don't actually know what's inside Ned's head in this chapter. So it's important to keep that in mind when considering what she thinks he is thinking about in terms of, his thoughts. So he is making the point about next. My father went south once to answer the summons of a king. He never came home again. And that's just sort of a foreboding thought that maybe Ned will end up like his father. But we don't know. So the next character I want to talk about is Maester Luwin. He is described as being a gray man, a small gray man. His eyes are gray and quick, and he saw much. It's on page 60. His gray hair, but he also has very little gray hair, so he's probably an old man, based on his coloring and the way he's described in the book. He also is described as having things in his pockets, books, toys, a bunch of other stuff. I imagine him just like a big Barney bag, like he pulls out, things from his pockets and tunics and coats and whatever. So, Mr. Luwin has delivered all of my children, Catelyn said. This is no time for false modesty. That's something that she tells Ned when she is getting out of the bed after they do it. She gets out of the bed and she's naked, but Maester Luwin's in the room, so she's talking about no time for false modesty. So that just sort of shows you the level of comfort that Ned and Catelyn have for Maester Luwin. He's in their bed chambers after they do it. They're both, freshly naked. I think Ned put on some clothes, but they're comfortable around him, and that's an important thing to consider. And Maester Luwin is very important in this chapter in that he delivers a message, a secret message that he found after he got a lens from a place called Muir. Meyer has an observatory, and they have lens crafters without equal, we learn in the chapter. But he delivers this message, and they tell him that, I trust you as I would my own blood, in terms of believing what is, in the message. So the hand of the king has great power, my lord. Power to find the truth of Lord Aaron's death, to bring his killers to the king's justice. This is something that Maester Luwin tells Ned when trying to help them decide whether or not Ned should go south to King's Landing or not. So he basically tells him, if anyone should do it, it should be you, because Robert trusts you, and you can probably figure out what actually happened to Jon Arryn. Again, also another character that we get is Desmond. He was mentioned again. We still don't know jack squat about Desmond. And those are sort of all of the power players in the chapter, if you will. The next thing I want to talk about is the splitting up of the kids. That was a big point in the chapter, to talk about how the kids were going to be split. So what do we know? We know that at the start of the chapter, Catelyn wants to have more kids. And by the end of the chapter, some of her kids are leaving her. So it's just in a very unfortunate situation for her. We know that she's not going to be able to get what she wants because Ned is going to leave. And we see that the last time Ned was gone for this long, he came home with a bastard. So maybe she could be worried about that as well. So let's talk about some of the kids and where they're going to go in terms of the confines of the story. So let's talk about Jon Snow, who was the previous viewpoint character. The decision is made that Jon, who wants to go to the Night's Watch, will be allowed to do so, and Ned's going to tell him. That's sort of the decision they make in regards to Jon. Ned brought his bastard home with him and called him son. It's something that Catelyn Stark was never really happy about. She can never really, I'll just quote now, she had never found it in her heart to love Jon. Whoever Jon's mother had been, Ned must have loved her fiercely, for nothing Catelyn said would persuade him to send the boy away. So Catelyn doesn't like Jon. Obviously, it's Ned's bastard son. Every time she sees Jon, she can only really see Ned with that other woman. And Ned being such the honorable and loyal man that he is, it's hard to believe that, he had this moment of infidelity where he, slept outside of the marriage, and he even cares so much about that bastard kid. It's explained that usually, like King Robert has a ton of bastards. He sleeps around. He has a bunch of illegitimate children who just, stay with their mothers. He doesn't bring them home and let them sleep in the castle. Whereas Ned, on the other hand, has one illegitimate son, and he brought him home. He's caring for the son. He's a man of honor. He's a man of responsibility, whether the son is a bastard or not. Getting some information about who John's mother could be. They whispered of Sir Arthur Dane, the Sword of the Morning, deadliest of the 7 knights of Ares' Kingsguard, and of how their young lord had slain in single combat. And they told how afterward Ned had carried Sir Arthur's sword back to the beautiful young sister who awaited him in a castle called Starfall on the shores of the summer sea. The Lady Ashara Dane, tall and fair with haunting violet eyes. And that's just one potential candidate for who John's mother could be. Looking at some of the other kids, we got Rickon Stark and Robb Stark. They are both characters who stay. Robb, on the one hand, is the oldest child, and he will sort of have to be the man of Winterfell. Whereas Rickon is the baby. He needs his mother because he's only 3, and Ned says there must always be a Stark in Winterfell. And though Robb is only 14, he will one day rule, in Ned's place. Yeah. So now we have Sansa, Arya, and Bran, and they're gonna go south with Ned. He wants Bran with him because Bran still has a lot of learning to do about how to be a young man that Ned has to teach him. And then also Sansa and Arya are going to go and learn how to be ladies of the court. Sansa was shy in the south, Catelyn thought to herself, and the gods knew that Arya needed refinement, so she's hoping that sending Arya south will help, and that's sort of how the kids are going to be split up. So it's very unfortunate that the kids have to be split. There's going to be a long way away. It's not like they can just pop over on the weekends, but it is what it is, and Ned does what he has to do. What do we learn? Alright, so we learn a little bit more about Winterfell. Winterfell is a castle that was built over some hot springs. And the hot springs they run through the walls and provide central heat, which is pretty cool. You never see that, like hot springs coming up and then going into a castle wall. I thought that was a pretty interesting way to describe it and how they keep warm in the winter. In winter, it was a difference between life and death. So we also learn that House Arryn has the moon and falcon as a house sigil. That's a pretty cool house symbol. I think so. Lastly, in this chapter, I do want to talk about eyes again. I know I talk about eyes in nearly every single video, but eyes seem to be such an important and integral part of the sort of symbols that George R. R. Martin is trying to create through the story. And we see eyes. There is a secret message that appears in a lens. We see a lens is an instrument to help us see. And they see the hidden message that Lisa sends inside a fake bottom to that. And that's just sort of one more thing about eyes, and seeing the truth and learning the truth and discovering the truth, all kind of coming back to eyes, which are the lenses for which we as people see.
Alright, so this video was so different from what I usually do. Hopefully I'll get better at speaking into the camera, talking to you instead of looking over there. But it's all going to come with practice. Hopefully my videos get better. I might even start doing some live Q&A. Maybe at the end of every book that I read, we'll do a live Q&A about that book, and sort of, if I have enough followers, if I have a big enough audience by that point, hopefully that'll be fun to do, interact with people about Game of Thrones, or other books that I read, like Maze Runner or The Color Purple. It's going to be really random, some of the stuff I read, but maybe I get to a point where I can start even taking some suggestions. But please, like, comment, and subscribe. Also share this video. If you have a Facebook page or Twitter, tweet it out, give it to your friends, especially if you know people who like Game of Thrones. That's the best way that my videos are going to get more and more popular, more views, and I really would like to build an audience. But thanks again for watching. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Take care. A wonderful evening. I need a theme song.
One more thing about Catelyn Stark as well. At the beginning of the chapter, we see that she... Cut all of that. Cutting that so hard.